Main lines were equipped with water troughs between the tracks to refill tenders without stopping.
So when she approaches a water trough, watch Fireman Mungo doing his stuff.
Fireman Mungo's stuff was this. During the journey, he would lower a scoop into the 600 or 700 yard trough. At speeds of up to 70 miles per hour, around 3,000 gallons would be rammed into the tender in 15 seconds. But really long non-stop runs, say to Edinburgh, would raise a new problem: crew fatigue.
No driver of trains is more proud of his Scottish descent than MacLeod. Now beyond York, the Scots crew prepare to relieve the strain on the English pair.
Gresley's simple but effective idea was to allow a relief crew from the train to walk through an 18-inch wide corridor in the coal tender and onto the footplate. On May the 1st, 1928, 4 crews worked 2 trains in opposite directions between King's Cross and Edinburgh. At nearly 400 miles, it was to become the world's longest scheduled non-stop run. Leaving from King's Cross at 10 a.m. every morning, the Flying Scotsman provided services on board that became a benchmark for luxury rail travel. But for Nigel Gresley, it was just the beginning. Determined to develop engines with higher speeds and better fuel economy, his masterpiece was yet to come.
The Silver Jubilee train, latest streamline wonder of the LNER, leaves King's Cross on her record-making trial run.
Nigel Gresley created this streamlined masterpiece to celebrate the King of England's reign in 1935. 17 years later, driver Jack Taylor reminisced about the day he broke the world speed record for steam.
The Silver Link was the finest engine I ever rode upon. Now, I didn't know accurately what speed we were doing. They had a speed recording machine in one of the coaches behind. I judged it to be about 90 miles an hour. Just beyond Biggleswade, Mr. Gresley comes through the corridor and shouts in my ear, "Ease your arm, young man. Do you know you touched 112 twice? Go a bit easier."
It was completely different to the teak trains which the LNER had produced for the Flying Scotsman and everything previously. It was coloured in silver, and the external effect of the train was totally different to the normal train that was running on the LNER at the time. It charged a supplement, I think, of 5 shillings for people to travel on above the normal fare, and the supplements covered the cost of the construction of the train in a very short time. The streamlined trains were put on to give business people in Newcastle originally a day in London to do some work and return the same day.
At the launch of the Silver Jubilee service, Peter Townend was only 10. But 20 years later, he was to find himself in charge of Top Shed, the King's Cross depot that kept nearly 150 locos on the rails. The Sir Nigel Gresley was one of them. Named after its designer, who was knighted in 1936 for services to British industry, it is known as an A4 Pacific. In the mid-1930s, the fad for futuristic streamlining was at fever pitch. Most was a victory of form over function. Not only were the A4s aerodynamically successful, but they helped solve the engine driver's nightmare, drifting smoke.
You must be able to see the signals ahead down the long boiler. His vision isn't very good at the best of times, but you can't see anything if the smoke is beating across from the side wind and obscuring the view from the cab.
In the belief that the streamlined shape would help lift the smoke clear of the cab, Nigel Gresley tried different shaped models in a wind tunnel. But nothing worked until Eric put his finger on the problem.
The technical assistant, Eric Bannister, who was involved in the experiment, was actually holding a plasticine model in his hand, and he held it with his thumb behind the chimney and made a depression behind the chimney by mistake. And they put the model in the wind tunnel and found for the first time they'd succeeded in lifting the smoke clear of the cab. The cab of the Gresley locomotive was extremely comfortable for the driver and the fireman, compared to many other companies where the cab was rather austere. But you could drive the A4 from a sitting position, all the controls within the driver's reach, and the fireman was provided also with a bucket seat. And with a wide firebox locomotive, you don't need to fire the locomotive continuously.